We have reached the conference finals in the APFL. The Fanatic Four are all set in all three tiers of the WRL, and we have a new number one in the FSA Sunday Ticket. All of this and more in 20 seconds. Hey fellow Fanatics, welcome to the Fanatically Real broadcast, sponsored by Sport Management Solutions, your one-stop shop for all your athletic communication needs. If you're out there, please give me a thumbs up or a message to let me know that you can hear me okay. We had some audio issues before coming online tonight, so I want to make sure that everybody can hear me. So if you're out there, even though it looks like we don't have anybody out there right now, so this could be a silent broadcast for a little bit unless somebody comes on and lets me know that we're good to go. So hey, here is tonight's broadcast. This is our agenda for the night. We are doing the Week 15 wrap-up. Oh, okay, I see out there. Tracy, how are you? Paul's there. Paul says audio is good here. All right, good deal. Yeah, weird setting tonight that it's never done before, and I guess that's what happens whenever you take like 2 weeks off from doing a broadcast, I guess. So appreciate you both. Thank you very much. All right, so here's the agenda tonight. Week 15 wrap-up. Of course, we're going to go through the APFL games like we mentioned at the top of the show. We are into the conference finals, so we're going to talk about those divisional finals first. We're going to go through each one of our regions, Loch Ness, Red Dragons, Cerberus, the Krakens. We're going to talk about where we're at in the Tier 1 playoffs for all of those. Give a little wrap-up for the Tier 2 and the Tier 3, and then the matchups for this weekend for all three tiers. Got something to talk to you about different for the website updates. Of course, we got a quick snippet for the FSA Sunday Ticket, and then we'll talk about our next broadcast, which is going to not be Thursday of next week, because that is Christmas Day, but we'll let you know more about that as we get to the end of the show. All right, so conference finals for the APFL. So we have reached the conference finals, but let's talk about how we got there. So first matchups coming to us from the AFC. So Denver demolished Pittsburgh 123-61 in the divisional round. It was a 61-point beatdown, validated Mustangs' number one seed positioning, and ended the Forge's upset run. Pittsburgh upset Jacksonville in the wild card round before running into the defending APFL champion, Denver Mustangs. In the other pairing in the AFC, Buffalo posted 129 points in their rout of the Baltimore Blackbirds. Final score there was 129-102. Mafia have now scored 271 points across two playoff games, averaging 136 per contest right now. They look like they are going to be very tough to beat, but of course, they have to play Denver Mustangs, the defending APFL champions. Let's talk about that NFC side, where Detroit Pride upset the New York Mammoths. Final score there was 128-112. That ended up handing the NFC's number one seed, who were the Mammoths, their loss, and the Detroit Pride are advancing on to the conference championship as a wild card team. The Pride improved their lifetime record against New York to 3-0 with an average victory of 23.5 points. And this will be the second year in a row that the Pride are going to the conference championship, as they were the representatives for the NFC last year against Denver. And then in the other NFC pairing, we ended up having Seattle beating Green Bay. Final score there was 121-108. That win by Seattle ended the 2023 APFL's champion season, and it allowed the 2022 champion Seattle to move on to the conference finals. So here we are with the conference finals. Let me show you the playoff picture here. So this is the same matchup on the AFC side as last year. So Denver and Buffalo will face off again. Last year's matchup had the Mustangs beating the Mafia 158-81 before the Mustangs went on to win APFL Bowl number 3. The two teams have split their playoff appearances against each other. Historically, across all 4 years, they are 1-1 against each other. And then Buffalo has won their only regular season game against each other. Buffalo won that in 2024. Final score there was 91-81. And then on the NFC side, we have the number 5 Detroit at the number 3 Seattle. Detroit owns a lifetime series record between these two teams. It was a regular season game back in 2022, week 11 to be more specific. Detroit won that game 124-60, so a 64-point win. But both of these teams have evolved. Both of them different rosters, different strategies, and they definitely have had a different playoff trajectory this year. So that takes care of us in the APFL. Let me see if I missed anything over here. Eric is out there. She says she's sorry she's late. And Paul says, Christmas Eve with live Santa watch tracker. So you did give it away. I'm not going to do the live Santa watch tracker, but we are definitely going to do the next broadcast on Christmas Eve. So I hope everybody will be ready for it. All right, let's get into these WRL matchups. We're going to talk about the Loch Ness region first. So we're down to the final contenders in the WRL. We're going to talk about all 3 tiers. We're going to go through tier 1 in each one of the matchups here in the WRL in the order that we normally do, the Loch Ness Red Dragons, Cerberus, and the Krakens. And then we will talk about the other tiers after that. So in the Loch Ness region, the Ohio River Monsters continue their season-long dominance. They end up beating the Terrifiers 166-152. The Ohio River Monsters end up locking up both the regular season and regional tournament championships. And then we're going to move on to the Red Dragons region. In the Red Dragons region, Turd Ferguson delivered the most explosive performance of the week, scoring 220 points and dismantling the Unicorn Legends. So the win crowned Turd Ferguson as the Red Dragons regional champion as they went through the playoffs, and in the wake of that, they knocked off the Red Dragons regular season champion, the Unicorn Legends. Final score again there, 220-180. I'm going to move on to the Cerberus Tier 1 game. The Monarchs end up winning this game. They end up beating the Maniacs, needing 2 wins over the Maniacs over the last couple weeks of the season to be able to be in the position that they're in now. Monarchs win this one 189-143. So Monarchs end up being the regular season champions by a fluke pretty much. And then now they have the regional tournament title added to their resume after this win over the Maniacs. And now we have the final Tier 1 region to talk about. That is the Krakens. In the Krakens region, Ted's Lasso continued their postseason pedigree. The defending WRL world champions overwhelmed the Music City Miracles. Final score there was 199-135. This ended the Miracles' run and allowed Ted's Lasso to secure the Krakens regional championship. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the playoff picture for where we're at for Tier 1, and then we'll go through the wrap-up of each one of the tiers and what their playoff picture looks like as well. Now, when you see this Tier 1 playoff, it's going to look a little funny based on the pairings that I'm about to give you because we didn't create any lines once we got down to the Fanatic Four because we did not know who was going to play each other. But I wanted to make sure to not add any ugly lines on this chart. I really tried, but it didn't turn out well. So you're going to see the Tier 1 playoff bracket, but listen to my voice and you get to see who actually plays each other. So here is your Tier 1 playoff picture. So kind of look at this diagonally. The Ohio River Monsters, who are in the upper left corner there, are going to play Ted's Lasso, who is in the bottom right-hand corner. This is your number 1 versus your number 4 seed. And then in the other pairing, the Monarchs down in the bottom left-hand corner are going to play Turd Ferguson, who are in the upper right-hand corner. So basically make an X right there in the middle, and that's who's playing each other in the Fanatic Four for the Tier 1 playoffs. Now, I've got playoff pictures for Tier 2 and Tier 3. We're going to go through the recap and then talk about the Fanatic Four in each one of those tiers. So let's get to Tier 2, which delivered some drama of its own. We had the closest playoff game of the week in any of the tiers as the New York Jackets end up edging the E-Thugs. Final score there was 149.78 to 146.90. The New York Jackets, they're up there in the upper left-hand corner, end up advancing by 2.88 points. Groot, who was in the bottom left-hand corner, advanced comfortably with a win over the Tonawanda Lumbermen. Final score there was 171 to 132. And then we know Paul's out there already calling me out for the Santa stuff and says he needs to go buy a lotto ticket now with the premonition of us going to have our broadcast on Christmas Eve. He ends up beating the Southern Sirens. Paul is up there in the upper right-hand corner. The Rochester Rabbits end up winning that game 197 to 120. And then rounding out Tier 2, the Warbirds, who are in the bottom right-hand corner, eliminated the 2023 WRL champion Lunatics. Final score there was 177 to 147. This bracket's a little bit easier to understand because they're right across from each other. So the Rochester Rabbits join this Fanatic Four as the number 1 seed, and they will play the New York Jackets, which are right across from them. And then the number 2 and number 3 will play against each other. That will be Groot and the Warbirds down there in the bottom half of the regional bracket. And then in the Tier 3, we saw some really high-scoring performances in here as people were still trying to fight to get that little bit of a purse at the end of this Tier 3 tournament. The Northern Nightmares, who are in the upper left-hand corner, broke the 200-point barrier as they beat Totally Turtley. Final score there was 200 to 158. The Coolidge Scorpions, which are in the bottom left-hand corner, took down the Charlie Potters. Final score there was 196 to 176. The Epidemic Elephants, who had a really good run at the beginning of the season, are now in the Tier 3 playoffs. They're in the upper right-hand corner there. They end up beating the Lone Rangers. Final score there was 178 to 119. And then the Roaring Lions, who also posted over 200 points this week, they end up beating the Land Sharks down there in the bottom right-hand corner. Roaring Lions scoring 208 to the Land Sharks 170. So in this one, we've got another crisscross going on. The number 1 seeded Epidemic Elephants that are in the upper right-hand corner are playing the Coolidge Scorpions that are down in the bottom left-hand corner. And then the number 2 and number 3. Number 2 belongs to Northern Nightmares in the upper left. Roaring Lions down in the bottom right. So again, make an X right there in the middle of the screen. And that is your Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 Fanatic Four as we're going into Thursday Night Football. Starting right here in about 30, 35, 40 minutes, we have the LA Rams versus Seattle. Seattle, as of early this afternoon, was favored by 1.5. I don't know if it's still the same or not. Cody, I think that's what we might be talking about as I get to the website updates here shortly. I just happen to see it over there. Let me add this up onto the screen now. Cody says, feels like I'm watching a historical last episode. I wouldn't say the last episode. We still have this week, which is the regional or the conference finals for you all, and then to get us down to the championship games in the WRL. So we still got a couple more weeks, and I think we might even close this out with an award show like we normally do. Why not close it out the way we should, right? All right, so LA Rams against Seattle. They're at Seattle. Seattle favored by 1.5. And then I was going to talk about Sunday Night Football in the flex in their schedule, and Hanley actually brought it up to me earlier today that we actually have Saturday games as well. So when I put the games in for the FSA Sunday Ticket earlier today, or earlier this week, I had everybody on Sunday because The chart that I've been using all year, which is a great breakdown right here from a website. I wish I could give you the name of it, but I don't know it off the top of my head. But every year I feel like I forget about them, and then I find them, and then I remind myself, this is a great website. I should probably bookmark it. I did bookmark it, but I still don't remember the name of it. They had everybody on Sunday, but NFL is using their rights to flex schedules this week. And so we have 2 games on Saturday. We've got Green Bay at Chicago, and we got Philly at Washington. I believe Philly at Washington is the 5 o'clock game, and then Green Bay at Chicago is the 8 o'clock game, if I've got those right. So the Sunday night game still got flexed as well. It's supposed to be Cincinnati at Miami, and now it's New England at Baltimore. Baltimore's favored by 2.5. And then Monday Night Football was still San Francisco at Indianapolis. San Francisco favored by 6.5. So what did that mean for the FSA Sunday Ticket? And I know we're skipping over the website updates. We'll get there. FSA Sunday Ticket, I could not delete those 2 games that are now on Saturday off of the Sunday roster because we already had players who had put their picks in for the week, and then that would have messed up their confidence points for games because they would no longer have 14-1. It would only be 12-1 and all of that mess. So what I ended up doing was going directly into the database and changing the date and time of when you need to get your picks in for Week 16 FSA Sunday Ticket. So now you have to get them in Saturday by 5 o'clock. That should be the first game again. I think it's Philly versus Washington is the first one. So you have to have your picks in by that game. So FSA Sunday Ticket is now FSA Sunday and Saturday Ticket for this week, as we're going to get those 2 games that are in there as well. So if you haven't put your FSA Sunday picks in yet, make sure you get them in. So I want to make sure everybody is aware of that. NFL is using the right to flex the schedule this week and putting 2 games on Saturday and moving the Cincinnati-Miami game off of Sunday night and making that the New England at Baltimore game instead. All right, so let's talk about these website updates. So I don't really have any website updates for you all this week. What I wanted to talk to you about was something completely different, and Cody kind of brought it up as maybe a historical last episode. So today's Thursday. Last week, Wednesday, we had an incident that happened with FSA with a couple of members and myself, in which I probably acted very dramatically and a little out of character for myself. For those of you that have been around for a while, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, not really out of character. We went through this 4 years ago. But anyways, to my mental and physical health and things that I'm going through right now, and with the way the incident went down on Wednesday, I have decided once again to close the doors of FSA. So I wanted to make sure that we got all the way to the season's end. I think the last time we did this like the 2nd or 3rd week of August, and we closed everything down, and it was before the season started, and we gave everybody back their money. This year, we're going to finish out the season, like I told Cody just a few minutes ago. We're going to finish out the season. We're going to continue doing our shows just like we do all the way to the end of the season. We'll probably end up doing an award ceremony at the end of all of this as well. We will get all of the payouts for everybody, and then that includes any carryover money that we had for the APFL, which we have the $400 carryover. If Cody doesn't end up winning that, that means there's $12.50 to go back to each one of the members of the APFL. And then there was 4 members, I think it was 4 or 6 members of the APFL had already paid forward to 2026. I got to get that money back to them as well. That one might be a little bit more difficult because I actually have to get League Safe to do that for me. So just so everybody knows, at the end of this year, we will be closing doors once again. With the mental and the physical health and the way everything went down last Wednesday, I felt like a lot of people showed their true colors, including myself. I wasn't proud of how everything went down. I know a couple people were asking for those that have been very influential and beneficial to FSA for them to be allowed to come back, but these are also the same people that I felt like showed their true colors last week. And I've been taught when somebody does show you their true side to pay attention to it. And in this case, I do not want, for what I consider myself a mental health problem, to come back into the league. So if anybody's out there watching this right now, no, they will not be invited to come back. And I'm sorry I'm putting it out there like that, but I'm kind of just talking about the incident and freestyling right now. So we're gonna get off of that. Just to let everybody know, the 6 of you that are out there, if you're still out there, I'm not sure how many people are actually watching right now. At the end of this season, at the end of the 2025 season, FSA will be closing after 32 years of Being active, we had our very first season in 1993. We did not complete that season, but we have been operational since 1993. If Chris is out there watching this right now, he would love to remind me that that was the year that he was born. So yeah, after 32 years, we're going to close our doors. Let's get off of that and let's move on to the FSA Sunday Ticket. I think we might be popping straight up with standings. I don't know. No, we are not. Good deal. But they're going to pop up here in just a second if I can make sure that I've got the right art here. Here's where we're at right now in our top 10 of the FSA Sunday Ticket. Matt Brown had a great week last week and ended up propelling him all the way up into the number 1 spot. He is tied with Jason Norris, who is Turd Ferguson, for that number 1 spot. Cody, who was just on talking to us, is in the number 3 spot. And then, Cody, I didn't even realize until just now, you and I are tied in the number 3 spot. So essentially the number 1 and the number 2 spot, the teams are tied and they are separated by just 2.5 points. Should be a really good week this week. Make sure, if you're still interested in participating in the FSA Sunday Ticket, that you get your picks in. All right, so Paul already called this. Paul needs to go out and play the lottery now. The next broadcast, because a week from today is Christmas, so what we're going to do is we're going to have our next broadcast on Wednesday, Christmas Eve. Instead, we're not going to track Santa, but we will have our broadcast. And I think we are finally going to get our guest host on with us next Wednesday. I'm very excited to have them on. I hope you all are too. And I hope you tune in next week so you can see who that is. I would like to thank you for watching the Fanatically Real broadcast sponsored by Sport Management Solutions. If you liked tonight's show, please go out, like, share, subscribe, and follow us on all of our social media. Also got to give a big shout out to The Recast, the official music of Fantasy Sports Alliance. I appreciate Mondo and the boys, especially Mondo this week, with helping me out with a project. So Mondo, if you're out there watching this right now, I really, really appreciate it. And as always, remember, we are Fanatically Real. Everybody have a great night and enjoy Thursday Night Football.